Who
Hmm.
knows? Denmark may soon be yours, or not Denmark. Greenland may soon be
Greenland.
yours. So
Yeah, keep quiet about the whole Denmark thing, Andrea, for goodness sake. We're trying to
yes,
keep
let's.
under wraps here. I told you that in strictures confident.
We
Even
got
the
to go in
Danes don't
order.
know about that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to From Washington to Westminster, formerly known as A Very Special Relationship. My name's Matt Johnston. I host a show called The Interesting Times from the UK. I'm about actually 2 miles from Westminster. And joining me from nowhere near Washington is one Andrea Bridges Smith, who hosts the Phoenix News. Andrea, how are you?
Well, Matt, everything over here pretty normal, quiet. Just people being rounded up and put into shackles, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I noticed this with America. It's happening with rather, worrying frequency. It always seems to be that sort of thing.
Yes, I don't prefer that.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of deporting going on over here. Allegedly, they're just rounding up, the bad guys and the criminals and sending them back to where they came from, which doesn't sound so bad on its surface, except for sometimes they accidentally scoop up some Native Americans who have been here for longer than, you know, white people.
Yeah.
So that's been complicated. Trump is declaring victory over the nation of Colombia in all of this. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle over the weekend. So what happened is our immigration department, which we call ICE for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they rounded up a bunch of Colombian citizens and then put them on a plane back to Colombia. And Colombia said that they would not take them. And so Trump said, fine, I'm going to impose a 25% tariff on everything coming from your country. And then they changed their minds and decided to take their people back. And Trump is saying that this is evidence that his big strong man approach actually works.
Oh, don't encourage a bully.
But if we take a look under the surface, as you must do with anything involving Trump, because usually the gold veneer peels right off and you find that there's been particle board inside the whole time. What really happened there was that Trump's goons chained these Colombians up on the plane, which there's just no reason to do. They weren't
Hmm.
violent or anything like that. They should not have been, chained in shackles like maximum security prisoner type people.
Hmm.
So the Colombian government was outraged about their people being treated inhumanely. So they said, we are not going to take people back on your planes because you are not treating them like humans, you jerks. So then there was a bunch of backroom whispering between both countries' diplomats. And then our people eventually said, fine, no chains. So actually, Trump's side is the one that capitulated in this scenario. But of course, nobody wants to tell that story, do we?
No, and if you don't make it fun, people start asking about the price of eggs. Never mind, one week in, I'm sure there'll be a hell of a lot more distractions to come.
It's funny that you mentioned the price of eggs because Trump has really done something amazing here. He said, when he came into office, day one, we're going to start lowering the prices of things. Now, when you go to the grocery store, instead of eggs just being expensive,
Hmm.
they are just missing from the grocery store entirely. So in a way, they are a lot cheaper because you literally can't spend any money on them. Thanks, Trump.
Yeah, the whole thing's rather bizarre. It's bizarre as well to turn around and say, I'm going to lower the price of eggs. Well, unless you actually run the supermarket, how does that work? I know you can put things in place so that prices can be lower, et cetera, but you can't really turn around as a prime minister or president and turn around I'm going to do this. I'm going to lower the price of these, and these are going to go up, and these are going. That's down to that's down to market forces and the companies involved themselves, surely.
Well,
Am I getting too
and
technical here? I just,
no, no, this is a good economics lesson. This is why people come to us for comedy and macroeconomics.
hmm,
No, the reason that we have high prices right now is because of a bird flu outbreak. And so poultry, eggs, all of that is being affected. And the thing that would help with bird flu is some sort of a comprehensive plan, some
hmm.
scientists and some, people over at the health department working together with to kind of combat this. Trump has fired most of those people. Yeah, eggs are going to be
Good.
unavailable and or very expensive for the foreseeable future because he doesn't really have a plan to deal with it, which I think surprises all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to sound all smug here, but I don't know if you know. Have you ever been to the UK, Andrew? I never got asked that question before, did I?
No, I have never been.
Well,
I'm
brilliant.
dying to go. I'm dying to come
There
and
you go.
hang out with you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. Well, here's an interesting fact for you, because I know in America you put your eggs in the fridge, don't you?
yes.
We don't do that over here. In fact, there's no need for us to do that over here
What?
because, yeah, about 30 odd years ago, we had the old salmonella outbreak
Uh
and it
huh.
affected absolutely everything. And everybody's sort of, and the minister, a lady called Edwina Curry, I think was the Minister of Agriculture or the Minister of Health or something like that. She said, don't eat eggs. They're all covered in salmonella, even though it was only like 10% or something. And all the farmers got outraged. So she came back and she worked with the farmers and they, between them, managed to get every single sort of egg. So you knew exactly where the egg was coming from. There was all these protections put on it. And now every single egg in the UK has a little, I'm dying to get one, in fact, to show you. I've got one in the fridge. Can I get one very quickly?
Yes, go get an egg. Show us your eggs.
Here we go. So it's a legal requirement, and I'm going to put it right up close to the. Oh, can we see that? Can you see that red thing there?
Just barely. Oh, yes. Okay. When it gets
That's
closer,
a
yeah.
lion, and it's a date stamp on it as well to tell you when the egg's going off. And it's a
Huh.
legal requirement. All the eggs in the UK have to have that. There we go. So slight distraction, but we're talking about eggs.
So you're saying that your government saw a problem and then came up with a comprehensive plan to do something about it, and it worked and has continued to work for the next 30 years?
Yeah, not only that, Edwina Curry was a conservative, so it was a conservative government that did it.
What?
Obviously, this before Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson, and yeah, before
You
that
live
lot
in
came on, they were quite competent. They were still a bunch of greedy bastards, but they were, quite competent.
you live an absolutely wild existence over there. I never stop being surprised. Now, Matt, I heard that Keir Starmer is looking to Rudy Giuliani for ideas these days, and I have to say that that worries me just a little because the only thing that you should look to Rudy Giuliani for is opportunities to laugh. I think that
So
that
many.
man has
Yeah.
done more for comedy than either one of us. But anyway, what is Starmer up to? Why is he looking to Rudy Giuliani for inspiration?
Well, like Trump's win over Colombia, spelt with an O, not a U, I understand, so as not to get confused with the New York University. Although I did a bit of research on this. Do you know Barack Obama went there?
Yes.
So maybe that's where the confusion comes in, right? He thinks it's another country. All
Yes.
right. So anyway, back to your original point. Starmer has made safer streets one of his milestone pledges before the next election.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, calm down, Dirty Harry. Basically, crime, it consistently ranks as a top concern amongst the electorate. Plus, with Starmer having been head of the Crown Prosecution Service, it's a way to tell people he isn't some lefty do-gooder lawyer that just lets the wrong ones out of jail, but a tough-talking crime fighter. Take that, Elon Musk.
Yeah, I guess everyone is deciding to get tough on crimes these days. I should probably stop robbing banks until all this dies down. But yes, Rudy Giuliani did something similar back when he was the mayor of New York City, which was, of course, before he turned into a hair dye leaking Nosferatu type.
Well, while we're on the subject of justice, now this is rather interesting. The new General, for those who don't know, the Attorney General is the chief legal advisor to the government, and it's a chap called Richard Hermer or Baron Hermer, which does sound like someone who Captain America would be fighting, right? But he has stepped in rather heavily on the Chagos Islands, that whole business
Oh,
that's still
yes.
ongoing, as it were, and said that under international law, we are to hand them over to Mauritius.
Okay, just quick aside here. Baron Hermer is a hilarious name. I think even the folks at Marvel would be like, that's a little on the nose, don't you think?
Yes, yes. Well, it's strange how he's obviously that's not his name. His name's Richard Hermer, I think. But
Mhm.
who? I mean, obviously his name's not Baron. What sort of idiot names their kids Baron, right? Anyway,
Can't think of anybody.
he said that strict adherence to international law would help Labour to fight the populist challenge posed by the shift to the political right in many Western nations. Wonder who he could be
Hmm.
talking about.
Hmm.
He has also backed Keir Starmer's backing of the arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. Possible double conflict there?
That's really interesting
Hmm.
because arresting Bibi, that's a very lefty move.
Yeah.
But it's also at the same time being tough on crime if we arrest criminals. So yeah, that's check and mate.
Yeah, it's going to be rather interesting. I do see that Starmer and Trump have had their first telephone chat, right?
Yes.
4 more years of this. So sorry, Prime Minister. I wonder if it's going to be one of those phone conversations. He picks it up and says, "Sorry, Prime Minister, but you spelled Wales wrong. There's supposed to be an H in it. Also, how do they get on land to vote?" I should be careful what I say there. Did you? I don't know if you saw, but Elon Musk has floated, pun intended, renaming the English channel the George Washington channel.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think
What?
we should call it the Elon Musk channel. So bear with me here, because then every day the right wing press would be losing their shit about the number of asylum seekers that come over Elon Musk. And how come it's always young men that come over Elon Musk? I just think the headlines would definitely be worth it.
That is genius. Someone summon the cartographers. We got a winner over here.
By the way, I will be repeating that joke on my Sunday show because I just think it's just such a good one
Yes,
not to have
you have
once.
to. You have to. Yes.
So when we had our first taste of your president, I was going to say taste of Trump, but that would have sounded just all wrong. But apparently, during his first term, his phone calls to Theresa May were a source of great amusement.
Oh yes, I heard about this actually.
Yeah, staffers would come running in to listen in on I guess, the party line, whatever you want to call it. But because Trump would just ramble on about anything, must be like one of his rallies, but basically with more people. Anyway, do you reckon Theresa May, who I've no doubt could be fairly polite and attentive, but it would just get to a point, right, where she just shove the receiver in a drawer and get on with some paperwork?
Yeah, I mean, if I was her, I'd probably just hand the phone to a staffer to occasionally make a noise while he rambles on, like, yes, quite, just.
Yeah, it reminded me of Abe Lincoln, Abe Simpson.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
exactly. Well, they're about the same age now, so
yes, yes. Back then, we would have called it a nickel.
yes,
Or
and they're both a similarly bright color, so they have that in common as well. Now, Matt, I don't know if you've seen this yet, but I've got some good news for you. You're not going to hear me say a lot of that for the next 4 years, but good news for you guys. You guys want to take over Greenland?
oh, but of course, I mean, colonialism is in our DNA, right?
That's how I ended up over here. If it weren't for all the colonialism, I might be over there hanging out with you, and then we'd only have one country to discuss. But how boring that would be.
Yeah, there's the fun in that.
Yes. So there is this former minister to Greenland that says that in the treaty that gave Greenland to Denmark, that if Denmark ever decided that they wanted to sell it, that the UK are actually the country that would have first dibs. They have right of first refusal. So I think that if the Danes ever do change their minds and decide to let Greenland go, you guys should totally go for it. Not because you want it or because you need it, but because it would piss Donald Trump off, and that's all any of us should be doing for the next 4 years.
To be fair, most of the time we did the colonialism, back in the day, it was just to piss off the French or the Portuguese or the Italians. So
It
sure, it's just
works.
the same thing for us, just
Yeah.
different target. I hope they take IOUs. That's the only thing. Yeah, I saw that. It's to do with the fact that it was actually Canada while it was still a British province.
Yes.
And it's to do with
Exactly.
the fact that Canada was the closest to it at the time or something. So basically, they would have had Canada as a part of the UK would have had their first dibs on it. But we'll see if we can't work our way around that. I have to say that the latest thing on Greenland is that, obviously Trump and Denmark's prime minister.
Hmm.
I think her name's Mette Frederiksen. Any Danish people out there, feel free to correct me. And they had a bit of a sort of a heck of a kind of ding dong in the way of a phone call. Um, which is, you can understand it. If you're sort of prime minister of a country and they turn around and say, we want part of your country or want this. So there's not even a discussion there. It's going to get your back up a little bit, isn't it, really?
Sure, yeah.
Now, she's actually now gone to Macron, to
Hmm.
Schultz, who's actually been very, he's floated the idea of having EU troops based in Greenland and the
Interesting.
head of NATO as well. But what's annoyed me is that Starmer has now turned around and basically not backed her. He said, I'm not getting involved in all this. Get a backbone, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is, I understand that we got this special relationship with America, but when somebody else is an aggressor to, a near neighbor and ally of ours, we should definitely stand up and say, cut it out.
Isn't that the point of NATO in the
Yeah,
first place? I mean,
yeah,
these are member
really.
nations, and although I don't think NATO has had to deal with the issue yet of what happens when a couple of its member nations go after each other, that
Yeah.
makes things spicy at the summits. So it would be interesting to see if Trump decided he was going to go invade Greenland, how that would all shake out. That's an interesting scenario. I didn't think that. I thought Russia would kick off World War III,
Yeah.
or I didn't think it would be us. So
And there was you sit there and think when they're writing out all this, terms and agreement, if you like, for NATO, and they're writing the whole thing out, and they finish up, and they sit there and go, we haven't really covered the fact of what happens. So if one NATO nation gets attacked, we all pile in. But what
right.
if it's by another NATO nation? And they go, oh, that'll never happen. Nobody's that daft, Nobody's that stupid. Come on.
Yeah, we just said we're all on the same side, but I gotta say, there's that little cold spot up there. It looks kind of appealing. It's like, no, 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 come on. Everybody, stop doing that. Everybody just stay in your goddamn lane. Could we
Yes.
all just stay in our goddamn lane for a hot second and see how that feels? I don't know.
It's kind of embarrassing though. All these people that as I say, don't give in to a bully because it doesn't really make a lot of difference. And I think it's just going to annoy people over here if Starmer doesn't start doing things like that. He's not that popular anyway because he always looks nervous. He's got this thing with his eyebrows doing that, and
Yeah,
then his
yeah.
voice goes. Anyway, so yes, no, we're in the middle of this, and we will. He just looks guilty all the time, even if he's not. You know, he's like, cut it out, say what you mean. Boom,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny because Trump is the opposite. He's always guilty, but just looks completely stone faced about it. So, if I can say one thing about the man, he's got a good poker face.
Yes, yes. He
Yes.
could have easily just crapped himself, couldn't he? And he'd still have that face.
I'm not saying he didn't. It's a both and kind of a situation. Well, as they say, there's always one door closing, but there's a window opening or something like that. So I know you have to give those poor little Chagos Islands back to Mauritius, but who
Hmm.
knows? Denmark may soon be yours, or not Denmark. Greenland may soon be
Greenland.
yours. So
Yeah, keep quiet about the whole Denmark thing, Andrea, for goodness sake. We're trying to
yes,
keep it
let's.
under wraps here. I told you that in strictest confidence.
We
Even the
got to go in
Danes don't
order.
know about that.
We got to go in order. It's Greenland first, then Denmark. I got it
Yeah.
mixed up in my brain. So. Well, before either of us white people colonize anything else, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this week's episode for the safety of all nations involved. But we will be back next week. In the meantime, you can catch up with Matt over on his channel at The Interesting Times UK here on YouTube. And we will be back with our Phoenix News Report on Friday. Till then, take care. Bye bye.